Hey everyone, welcome to another special Yuletide video. So if you've been keeping up with the releases on the channel, you would have already seen the customary Yuletide video, which is the Land Ahoy episode. So it'll be Land Ahoy 5, which went from I think M20 to Strixhaven. But what I thought I'd do is put out, as I often do, put out some extra videos over this season. Now usually what I've always done is from about the 24th 25th of December until the new year, I've usually put out a series of videos. Like sometimes it's like been deck building videos, another year it was I think pack openings of repacks, those sort of things. But because I've settled really nicely into the release schedule that I've currently got, I didn't want to mess that up. It's a really nice rhythm. And if you haven't seen the episode where I sort of spoke about the release schedule, I'll just give you a quick bit of housekeeping here. If you don't want a spoiler for what's coming up in the new year, look away now. I just want to bring this spreadsheet on screen so I can sort of have something to talk to and explain how the cycling works here at the moment. So yeah, this is next year's video release schedule. And so what I do now is I do 4 videos a week currently, and there's 6 series roughly. So in 3 weeks it comes back on itself. So you've got this sort of 3-week repeating cycle where the days of the week get back in sync with the videos. So, and you can see there's the 6 different videos. So you've got Reasons, Resources, Scryfall Shenanigans, Music Related, Stroke, Musing On, This Old Deck, My Life in Objects, Stroke. That is a bit of a wild card slot there, but currently I'm doing My Life in Objects, and 15 cards. And that's going forward. The template for this, what I choose to do in here may change out. So that left me with a bit of a dilemma, because I wanted to do some additional videos for this time of year, where I sort of resurrect the sort of videos I've done in the past, maybe go down some different rabbit holes, but I didn't want to mess up the release schedule. So I'm going to record about 3 to 4 additional videos for release between the 24th of December and the new year, sometime in that time frame. And they'll just be bonus videos. I'm deliberately going to leave mid-rolls out of them as well. So they're great videos if you want to fall asleep to them. They'll be long form, all of them. And so this one is going to be a long video about a recent trip or set of trips, set of days out we took when we went over to the UK, and that happened towards the end of November 2024 into December. It's actually the first time I think ever, even when I was in the UK for all those years living over there, that I've visited London at Christmas time with Christmas lights and everything. So it was a bit of a a unique experience. So that was nice, and my wife got to see that aspect of London which she hasn't seen before, so that was good. So I'm just going to go through, and yeah, it's just going to be a talk. I just wanted to sort of offload onto a video all the interesting things that I did, just for my own nostalgia, but also if anybody else finds themselves visiting London and is short of anywhere to go, these might be some places you might want to check out. So although the trip was longer than 3 days, I'm going to focus on the sort of 3 excursion days in London and talk a little bit about how we navigate our way round and the sort of strategy we have for in terms of where we stay. So that's the plan with this. And then I'll include some links to places that we went, specific websites. But for this episode, I'm just going to use Google Maps to try and tie it all together, and we'll see what happens from that point. So I've zoomed out a little bit here just to sort of show you what we usually do when we're flying over from Nova Scotia is flying to Heathrow Airport. Then we usually take the Heathrow Express into central London, into Paddington, and stay in Paddington Basin just overnight, and then travel down to to Haywards Heath station, and then across, and normally stay somewhere around here in around Uckfield, Maresfield, and then that puts us in a really good spot for visiting family and friends around in this part of the country. And if I zoom out a bit more, you can probably see there's the coast down here. So we've got Brighton over here as well. Yeah, so I just wanted to sort of orientate everybody in terms of, this is really the part of the country most of the time when we come over where we visit. Sometimes we've been up to Oxford or Bath or Bristol, and of course down to Brighton, but for this trip it was really just London and around here in the south of England. And like I said, everything today I'm going to talk about is places we visited in London and hung out in London, but I did want to just point out anybody travelling, if you go from Victoria, you can go to Victoria through to Haywards Heath down to Brighton, and that's a line we've used quite a bit over the years, particularly to get from London to Haywards Heath. There's also another train line. I can't remember where it goes to in London actually, because I've never used it that much, but in Uckfield, that's its southern line up to one of the stations in London. You can get up there as well. And there's some buses that you can use that run around here. A few of them come every couple of hours, which is a little inconvenient, but you can obviously plan it. But quite a few of the buses that we use, because I tend not to bother hiring a car unless it's really necessary. But several of the buses that we use, particularly between Haywards Heath and our sort of base of operation at this Premier Inn. It says Premier Inn Uckfield. It's actually really on closest to Maresfield. So we go backwards and forwards between Haywards Heath and here quite a bit, or have been on previous visits as well. But like I said, I'm only going to talk about London now. So as I mentioned, first day there we fly into Heathrow. Now, because of the way the flights work and the times changed, what used to happen is when we used to fly in, it was that overnight flight. I don't know if anybody's ever taken that one from Halifax to the UK, but yeah, it leaves at about 11, 12 at night, and by the time you take into account the 4-hour time difference between Nova Scotia and the UK, and the fact that going that way the flight time's around 5 hours, I think, you get into Heathrow around 9 o'clock in the morning, so you get this really long travel day, and you can leverage that quite a bit. And often what we would do is fly into London, go from the airport through we always use the Heathrow Express and book in advance, so we get quite a good deal on it. And then you get into Paddington, and then from there, in the past, what we've sometimes done is like travel somewhere else for a few days before we go down and visit the folks. And then we pretty much always finish it off with, anything between 2 to 4 days in 2 to 4 full days in central London, and then fly back out again. The flight leaves fairly early, well, not fairly early, but the flight I think leaves around 9 o'clock back to Nova Scotia. So, if you want to sort of check in with good time and just hang around in the departure lounge a bit and have breakfast, we'll often catch the first train out from Paddington to Heathrow on the Heathrow Express at about like, I don't know, 10 after 5 in the morning. And then that way we can just sort of hang out in the departure lounge and do a bit more shopping and have a nice breakfast, that sort of stuff. And it's only 15 minutes on the Heathrow Express, actually, between Paddington and Heathrow Airport. So yeah, that's what we always do, and pre-book that, and it's all ready to go. And we sort of book a return with like as an any time. So if for any reason the flights move a little bit, we're not stuck. So this trip, what we did is stayed in central London for one night before we went down, and that was really nice. We tried to do last trip, we did the flight into Heathrow to Paddington, then on the Circle line to Victoria, then down to Haywards Heath in a single hit, and we only just made the Haywards Heath train because by the time we flew in and the flight was delayed, I think last time, we got there about 9, and then you're talking about you've got to get across London, you're getting to like 10, 11. I think there was one more train left, but it was pretty tight. So this time round we decided to do it different, and rather than staying in Haywards Heath, stay in London, which is a little bit more expensive. Although we all stay at the Premier Inn, they're pretty competitive, so it's not too bad, but it's definitely, Premier Inn in London is definitely more expensive than the one in Haywards Heath. But cheaper than some of the other places, and there's nothing wrong with the hotel. I mean, we love the rooms are really big actually at the Premier Inns. That's one thing. And I'll mention something about that in a moment, because there is an important point about certain Premier Inns. So what I thought I'd do is just talk a little bit about the base of operation whenever we do our sort of London part of the trip. So, like I said, come in the first day, stayed overnight. We did in that first day, because it was quite nice having a leisurely travel down in the morning rather than trying to do like Heathrow to Haywards Heath, Uckfield in a single hit. It was quite nice to have a leisurely time in the morning and go off down Oxford Street for a walk before we had to check out at 12. And then when we went back up to London at the end of the trip, like I said, 3 nice full days. So 2 travel days either side. One day to get from, a day where we get from Haywards Heath back up to London, and then the final day just travelling back to the airport for the flight out. And so we found it really convenient to stay in this area called Paddington Basin, which has developed really nicely now. You've got Paddington Station itself, which has access to the Elizabeth line, has access to the Circle line, has access to other underground stations from there, Hammersmith, to name another one. I'm trying to remember what else comes through there. You're also pretty close to Edgware Road, so Bakerloo line comes through there, as does the Circle line as well. And from Paddington you get both, it will be like Circle and the District line as well. So it's pretty flexible, and you can get lots of places. We primarily use the Circle line to get to Victoria Station. So the most of the time we're using the Circle line is really from Paddington to Victoria, and then from there we catch the train to Haywards Heath, and then going back when we go up to stay in London for those 3 days, going from Victoria back to Paddington. Because a lot of the time when we're staying in London we actually walk quite a bit. But yeah, it's some cool stuff around here. Like I said, the hotel's really nice, pretty high. I don't know, it's 19 floors on this, I think. Nice large rooms. There is another hotel by the station. I can't remember what they call them now. I think they call them, is it the Hub? So it's Premier Inn Paddington Station, but it has a different name. And I believe the rooms are a little smaller. I've never stayed there. So just be aware that there is a differentiation between Premier Inn and the Premier Inn hub stuff that you might come across. So you always check out the photos of the rooms so you know what you're letting yourself in for. Just hanging around here is really nice now. This has all been, there's been a lot of building going on here that sort of started before COVID, I suppose, and then has just carried on. And so now we've got places like Gale's Bakery and Bondi Green, which we go to for breakfast often when we're staying there. But there's loads of really nice places to eat all around here. On this is what, Parade Road, I think it's called. Yeah, I can never remember. There's also, and it had the little things that make things cool. On the corner here, where's it gone? There is a Tesco's 24-hour, which is really convenient, and it has a Tesco Express. That's it, and it has like meal deals in there as well. So yeah, you get loads of stuff there. So if you need a bite to eat and you can't find anywhere that's open, then that's a cool place. Some of the places to eat, get snack food in Paddington do close fairly late, but they're not 24 hours. You can get access to the station pretty much 24 hours, but there's just there's I think food from about 4 or 5 in the morning till about 12 at night. Various things, and there's a number of shops there as well, but they shut down at certain times of the day. But there's always a pasty place there open quite long hours, so we often grab a pasty there when we get back to the UK as well. So yeah, so I enjoy staying around here. It's not too much of a walk for us anyway to go down to Lancaster Gate and then into here into Hyde Park. So often when we go on a trip, we just end up walking across Hyde Park. Like the first evening we were there, when we just stayed overnight, I think it was, we went for a sort of wander. Was that? Oh no, that was when we came back up. Yeah, when we came back up to London to do the 3 days in London, we had this sort of travel day where we got to the hotel. We got to the hotel early. We checked in early at 10 o'clock on that day. No, sorry, 11. That was 11. And they charge you like £10 extra or something. And then we were able to sort of all freshen up, get all our bags sort of stowed, and then head out. And took a really nice walk along here, and then down up Piccadilly, basically. So yeah, there was plenty of time on like non-whole days to still get bits of sightseeing and walking in London. And yeah, that's why I like staying here, is because for those odd days where that's the case and you don't have the benefit of a whole day, there's a lot of stuff within walking distance that you can still sort of check out as well. And just wandering around Hyde Park's really nice. You've got the Royal Albert Hall over here, the Albert Memorial, Serpentine Gallery, various other things that are worth checking out. We didn't go to the Winter Wonderland, that was around this time of year, but it was just really nice to walk around. One thing we did notice is that after dark, this isn't that well lit around here. I was expecting it to be a little bit better lit. There was sort of the odd street light. So that's one thing to watch out for when you're walking around here, just in terms of, tripping over a bird or stuff like that. It's pretty safe. I find it pretty safe, but yeah, it's always tricky in the dark wandering around. But there were still quite a few people around, and there's a lot of cyclists now as well. They seem to be leveraging those e-bikes quite a bit. It was nice as well this time around, even though it was late in the year, they still had the fountains on at the Italian Gardens, so it was nice to see those, which when we'd been over early in the year in 2023 I think it was, they hadn't switched them on. We went over, I think end of February, early March, and they were still switched off, but this time they were actually switched on. Yeah, so let's move on. I've rambled a bit, just generally the base of operation, and I'll talk about, you know, my planned day, because what we do when we got days in London is we share it out, and we get to plan a day. So sometimes when we've got 2 days, we each have a day. 4 days, we each get 2 days. This day there were 3 days, so I had some things I wanted to do specifically in London, and I always know my wife always picks really cool things to do anyway, so I was quite happy to just have one day with my planned stuff and then let her plan the other 2 days, and I knew we'd get up to some good stuff. So I'll start off with where I ended up going, where we ended up going, but by my design first of all. So let me just move over here to these slightly different ones. So obviously we started off in Panic. What we decided to do is actually walk down to this place, the Kin Cafe and Restaurant. Had a lovely breakfast there. It's a vegetarian restaurant. It is slightly on the pricey side, but it was well worth it. It was really nice, and they've got a full restaurant next to it as well. I don't know if you can see that in the image. If I bring that up, it might be a bit easier to see. Yeah, so there's their sort of breakfast bakery area, and then there's a full restaurant here. We didn't have chance to really check that out. And what time did we get? Yeah, so it opens around 8:30 most days. So we got there about 9, and it was pretty quiet. So we were able to just, you know, sit in one indoors. I mean, it was quite mild. It was a little bit rainy, and I don't think it got. I think most days were around about 10 degrees, which is not too bad coming from Nova Scotia. So, yeah, so it was quite nice. We could have sat outside, but we didn't. But yeah, it wasn't. It was pretty nice walking weather, generally. So yeah, I can recommend this place if you're ever in London, and I'll include a link to that. Then what happened was, after going there, we went down to Foyles, which sort of opened next. That opens, I think, about 9 in the morning. It's a huge bookshop, and I avoided the temptation to go over to Covent Garden on this day. I've been there so many times. Plus, another cool place around here is, and we were so close. Yeah, you've got, where is it? Shaftesbury Avenue. And I know we walked right past it. This has all been redeveloped now, so well, it's been redeveloped for quite a number of years, but I always have problems navigating myself. Yeah, Denmark Street, there it is. Yeah, so I resisted the temptation to go down Denmark Street, because whenever we go, I think every single trip I've made, I've always gone down Denmark Street. So this time I decided not to, because I wanted to go somewhere else, which you may have seen on the map already. So I went to Foyles, really nice bookshop, multiple levels. I've been there numerous times. Yeah, just if you've got, you know, you're into books, there's a really massive selection of books there. Then wandered up to Waterstones, and also the Gibson garage. This is this big Gibson showroom, which had only just opened that year. It was a really cool place. Had a really nice chat with the people working there. And there's an upstairs bit with mainly Gibson stuff, and then the downstairs bit with Epiphone and Kramer, I think. Kramer guitars. But yeah, well worth checking out if you're ever around there, just popping in and checking it out. So yeah, that was enjoyable. And then popped into Waterstones quickly. This isn't a particularly large Waterstones. There are bigger ones tucked away in London, but I just wanted to check out this one because I don't think I'd been to it before, just to see what was in there. And then for lunch we went to this place, Circola Populaire, which is really nice. And it has these 20,000 bottles all round the restaurant, which look really impressive when you're sitting there. When you're sitting, it looks much better than this, but when you're sitting there, it just looks phenomenal. And they've all got liquid in them as well. So they look like the original spirits and wines and liquor and everything else. Yeah, really cool. And we got there around about midday, so didn't have too much trouble getting a table. I can imagine certain times of the day it's super popular. One thing I wanted to do is just swing by this cat cafe. That's really all we did. We just sort of went in just to get a feel for it. I was hoping they might do some sort of cat themed books there, gifts there, just to get something for Mav, but not so much really. And there's an area at the back where you can go in and, you know, interact with a whole load of cats, and there is a charge for that. But we didn't really. I was just curious because I've seen the cat cafe in Toronto years ago, and I was just curious as to what the one here. I mean, it's very nice, but you know, we had a limited amount of time on that day really to do everything that I wanted to do, and there was quite a bit of walking. So there were various ways we could have walked across Regent's Park, and we've done all sorts of ways over the years. I didn't bother going this way. In the future I would like to go around this side again. So we pretty much just went in a straight line. I think we might have deviated a little bit over to here. And really it was just a nice walk to get to ultimate destination, which was Camden. Because there was a particular place I wanted to go to, which was Raven Records, which I've mentioned in another video, but I don't know if when this video goes out, it might possibly think, yeah, this video is going to go out before it, but I mentioned about Raven Records in another video. Awesome place. The guy there running it, Ben, really nice guy. In actual fact, I think on this one, I might just bring up their website. Yeah, heavy metal record shop, coffee shop, alcohol-free bar. Yeah, next time we go to London, I want to spend a lot more time in there just hanging around. It was getting a little bit late in the day by then. I think one day of the week it's closed as well. I think on a Wednesday, maybe. But yeah, there's Ben there. Yeah, just a great place to hang out. So I bought an Accept t-shirt while I was there. But yeah, pretty cool. And I could have spent hours in there, but I didn't want to go too crazy. Oh, there's an online shop as well. I haven't really checked out the website that much. And I know my wife would have loved to have hung out and had some coffee, but there was a couple of places we wanted to check out in Camden as well, and it was quite, you know, doing all that walking. Sometimes you start to flag towards the end of the day, so yeah, I decided to not linger too long, and there was no way I could really come back with a whole load of vinyl. I don't like having vinyl in luggage just in case. But it's lots of interesting. I thought this was really cool. So this would have happened, I think, before. Yeah, this is a little bit out of date here, but this would have been just before we were there, I think. If that's right. yeah, Saturday. So we travelled up to London on the Monday. Yeah. So yeah, I thought that was cool. Yes, I spent many an evening back in the day sewing patches on battle jackets. And the ideas like this are really cool, actually. So yeah, it'd be nice to, when we go back next year in 2025, spend a bit more time around there. We've been to Camden so many times, that's why we didn't probably spend as much time in there as we could have done. But while we were there, we did get to have a nice meal at Vegan Planet, which is one of these places that do sort of faux. So I don't know if anybody's been to this sort of establishment. There's one in Halifax, which is sadly closed now, where it's, yeah, you can see here. Yeah. Fish and dishes free of animal products. And it's pretty interesting to see, just to taste it. Yeah. So I did want to check that out, and I wasn't disappointed. So we had a really nice meal there. There's some other really cool places to eat in Camden. Poppy's Fish and Chips, I think, is supposed to be pretty good. I've not eaten there myself. I've been to Mildred's, that's really good. Temple of Satan. We did walk past it, but didn't eat there. It was actually on the way back, but we'd already eaten here. All Ages Record is another really cool record store, and I think that's why I was in a bit of a hurry, because I wanted to check that out as well. So yeah, store two really cool. So this is a little bit more, I suppose, I don't know if it's, you could say it's a bit more punk, but yeah, punk and hardcore fans. So if you're into extreme music, between Raven Records and All Ages Records, you pretty much got yourself covered. And then we did go into Camden Market quickly, or Camden Lot Market over here. We've been there so many times that we didn't really need to go there. We did go to Cyberdog and then just walk back out. Took a nice walk round here and then down and then back to the hotel. So yeah, it was a really cool day, and I got to tick off a lot of stuff that I wanted to do, so that was nice. And then the following days, one day we went over, and so we travelled over, and I've got to get this right now. Where did we take a train into? Oh, that's right, Waterloo. So yeah, took a train into Waterloo after previously having breakfast over in the Basin. So we just went to, I think on that day we went to was it Gales Bakery? Yeah, Gales Bakery, which is really nice. Had a nice breakfast in there. And then headed out to Waterloo. And that would have been on the Bakerloo line. Yeah. So Waterloo Underground, which actually is that one, isn't it? Because that's the station. Yeah, Bakerloo. You can see rather conveniently this all comes up now when you click on it, which is pretty cool. And there was a couple of main events that we were doing that day. In the morning, we were going to go to, went around Sea Life. So we had timed tickets for that, I think. Yeah, timed tickets. Then in the afternoon, till about 5 when it closed. 5 or 6 when it closed. I think on the day we were there, it closed at 5, but I'm not sure. I mean, it's free to get into. It must have been 6 actually. Yeah, maybe it was 6. But in between, we went for this really nice afternoon tea, and I got to find the place because it's difficult to locate. Yeah, it's called the Library. And it's actually marked as being here next to Sea Life, but that's actually not where it is. I don't know why it's wrong on the map here, but it's in this block. So this is one big block called County Hall, and there's a number of entrances, and it's actually, well, it might even be over here, but it's deceiving because this is like multi-level, so you have to sort of go through this bit to get to it, if that makes sense. You can't get to it from the front here. And this is where, I don't know if it's going to come up, there's a Twits tea thing as well. The Twits afternoon tea is in there as well. Which again, that's in a slightly different place. Somewhere over here. But yeah, really nice. It's pretty pricey. Actually, but it was a really good experience. Yeah. So you have this afternoon tea. So the cakes and the scones come out on one of these. And then you also get, I wouldn't quite say what it is. I suppose it could have been bottomless sandwiches. They just, we had one round of sandwiches and they said, oh, if you want any more, just keep asking. So I think we had a couple of rounds of sandwiches. But yeah, there was just so much stuff. We felt pretty stuffed after having this. We had to reserve a spot. Yep, so that's it. Overlooking the House of Parliament and the River Thames. So really nice environment. There's all these sort of books everywhere. So yeah, it's obviously a library, so one would expect that. And then you've got the menus. I'll include a link to this. But yeah, it's not cheap. There was a vegan afternoon tea. We didn't do that particular one. It looked pretty interesting actually. Yeah, that was all booked before we travelled. So my wife took care of all of that. And then after that, we went to the Peacock Theatre to see the Snowman, which is really cool. So yeah, so that was really enjoyable. In actual fact, that must have been the third day now I think about it, because I remember we went there on the night before we were due to fly back. So yeah, I've gone from day one, full day in London, to day 3. So day 2, we went to a few places around here. The main objective of the day was to go to this, the War of the Worlds immersive experience, which is very impressive. So we went to that. And we had, again, like time tickets for that. You have to sort of book in advance and you go in at a certain time. And it lasts for, I don't know, a couple of 2 to 3 hours maybe. So we had quite a bit of time just to mooch in here. So we just, this morning over, we did actually take the train over. So again, we had breakfast over in the Basin. This time we did actually have breakfast at Bondi Green, which is really good. And then a little bit later in the morning, took the tube to Monument, and I'm pretty sure that was on the, yeah, that would be the Circle line that day. Had a wander around here. We've been here quite a few times before. So we had lunch at the Folly, which is really nice. well, so I suppose more of a brunch there, actually thinking about it. So yeah, that was a pretty cool place to have a really nice brunch. Because I think what we did actually when we had the sort of breakfast first thing, we just really had something like a pastry, I think, before that. So it was nice to have a slightly more substantial meal at the Folly. I had this really lovely cup of, they called it a Dr. Pepper, and it was, so it was a tea which had ginger, turmeric, lemon juice in it, honey, and I think ginger. Yeah, it was really nice. In fact, I liked it so much I started making it at home. So yeah, it was a cool discovery. And then we wandered around other places like St Dunstan in the East Church Garden, because my wife wanted to take some photos in there. So we sort of went there first before we went for brunch. And then there's other places we walked around before. So we went to Leadenhall Market, past the Lloyds of London building. I don't know if you've seen that. It's all that sort of tubular setup, very industrial looking. Close to the walkie-talkie, which we have actually been up on a previous trip, and actually went up and had lunch at the Sky Garden. This is several years ago now. And if you go, obviously have lunch in the Sky Garden, access to the viewing platform is free. If you go there, you can just get up to the viewing platform as well and not have lunch in the restaurant if you want to. But when we went, we just sort of did both. And then went, like I said, went to this in the afternoon. We were going to go to the Bank of England Museum, but decided not to on that day. And we just sort of came back a bit earlier. And it's always good when you decide to come back early, because we found that there's always plenty to do, just sort of mooching around here. So sometimes what we'll do, like when we came back one evening, we took the train to sort of Lancaster Gate down the Central line, and then just walk back through here. I don't know if I mentioned, this is a really lovely Indian restaurant. Sort of tucked away. You can't necessarily see it from the road. It's in a hotel, actually, funnily enough. But that was really nice. Turmeric. We went there the first day we arrived, so we had a meal there in the evening. Wasn't like the first full day, and yeah, that was a really nice find. I'd sort of discovered it at the last minute while I was trying to decide where to eat. But there's stacks of places to eat, and as I've said, if you don't want to fork out, then yeah, you've always got the trusty sandwiches and stuff from Tesco, the meal deals from Tesco Express. In fact, we had quite a few meal deals on the trip sometimes. Like, I remember when we needed something to eat between going to Tate Modern and then going to the play, and we didn't really want to go and sit down anywhere, so we popped into a Waitrose, grabbed a meal deal. And then on a few occasions when we were down staying in Uckfield and hanging around in Hayward Heath, places like that, we grabbed meal deals from Marks and Spencer's as well. So yeah, everybody does a meal deal, so it's pretty easy if you're trying to keep costs down on a bit of a tight budget. And that's what we normally do, actually. What we usually do when we go is have one sort of decent meal a day somewhere, like a nice one, and then the rest of the time we just wing it with meal deals and little cafes and stuff like that. This trip was a little bit different. I just decided that there was a whole load of places that I wanted to check out, and I might as well just go for it. So yeah, there we have it. So hopefully that was interesting. As I've said, I'll include links where there's sites to all the places I've mentioned, and hopefully if you're visiting London and happen to be in the general vicinity of some of these places. It may encourage you to check it out. Also, I've done a previous video, I think, about favourite places to visit in London from a previous year, so yeah, always worthwhile checking some of those out. And I did a little video as well, I think, about that little deck of cards I've got, Walks in London. That's really useful, even though it's a bit out of date now. Yeah, we often use that as a sort of inspiration thing to just start ideas off in terms of places to go. So thanks once again for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed this special additional Yuletide video, and I will catch you in a future video.